Here's Michael Komorn with more Planet Green Trees.
Jim.
Yes, I'm here.
By the way, you look completely. That's so badass. That's fucking. Where are you at Tommy's place?
I'm actually in an undisclosed location at the new improved PGT studio.
Let me see a wide shot on that. That's phenomenal. No, from the camera. It was like some kind of like you were in a studio of.
Well, John, we'll see you soon.
It's brand new for Hash Bash 2021.
Oh, that one I'm talking about. That one right there. Look at that thing.
Yep, it's great.
All right,
really
guys,
good.
back to you. We'll see
Thank
you soon.
you. Peace.
Yeah,
All right, we were talking over the who's that? Captain Kirk.
we were.
Caregiver. Jeff may have to go in a minute. It's probably not a bad idea, but because I can see that Jimmy Pepper is at the control desk.
I am.
And if there was anyone that seemed like they were running the ship, the Planet Green Trees ship, I would say that chair, that shirt.
It's the whole package.
It's
it
just
really
phenomenal.
is.
It's the whole package.
It is.
It's like Amazon Prime at its best.
Yeah, we got it all in under 2 days. So, I mean, that just shows what Amazon Prime can do for you.
Jeff, you know that Jimmy's lobbying for the CEO spot at Amazon. It's going to happen, I think.
Yeah, but
anyways, I was rambling on about caregivers and how there's a war on caregivers, Jeff, and how they were then brought back in 2017 and asked to supply the market, which they did, and it was caregivers gone wild. All of a sudden, they cut them off cold turkey in October, and then out of nowhere, this DeRuyter case comes down, and now every single city across this great state of Michigan is creating stupid local ordinances banning caregiving.
It's
they
horrible.
have not banning
and it's in total conflict, I think, with Terbeek, and they're using what was it, footnote 8? Footnote 8.
There's a DeRuyter case. The DeRuyter
I know,
case.
I get it, but Terbeek was supposed to solve this for us, was my point, and here we are again.
Well, nobody could figure out what fell in the little opening that was left over after Terbeek. Is some of the effect of course, cities can still regulate activity that they normally do, but they can't ban caregiving because it's illegal federally, is what that said. But then the question became, what kind of behavior could they actually regulate? A caregiver, by virtue of their caregiver status, is private.
That's right.
Giving up of that information is not.
But according to some municipalities, you need
still
need to register.
My first question was, after Terbeek, the query was, what could they regulate if the behavior they're targeting is private? That seems ridiculous. But then after DeRuyter, they reemphasized that for zoning and things to that effect, which opened the door. I mean, just the fact that some cities refuse to allow commercial buildings to be used for caregiving, and some cities wanted no caregiving in residentials, and that's two different choices that were made, tells you the types of disparity that is evolving now, or will continue to evolve, on how the cities are going to try to ban it or regulate it in some way. It's actually outrageously conflicted. And the problem is that it's not one that's being applied to all these cities to ban it. It's become little tiny stupid rules in each city that's different. So you've got it's like the multiple problems.
It's horrible, and it's only going to get worse, because the mantra going forward will be, why do you need a caregiver? We have a regulated system you can participate in. Why do you need to grow at home? You can go to the dispensary and purchase it, just like medicine, and it will be a horrible thing.
You know what? The problem with that is that the MMMA was a law voted on by the people. The legislature didn't come up with it.
Yep.
The people voted for it overwhelmingly, 63%. They did not vote for this fucking MMFLA. That's a legislatively born, mutant that came out that exists. And the idea that the creation of that, which is essentially the police writing the law, somehow validates this conversation of why do you need a caregiver? Well, why do we need a MMFLA? Why do we need the police telling us how the shit's got to go down?
Yep. No, I totally agree with you. But that will be the argument. It is the argument the state police, I'm sure, are already making. And
you know what?
I mean, if we're honest, it's a strong argument, right? It's better than the argument they had before.
You know what? See, the point is, I don't know how you can be in favor of legalization and not support caregivers. Like, that's the problem. That should be the line in the sand. If anybody wants to get up and talk and have access to connection with this particular event, maybe not the Planet Green Trees, I'm not making the rules, but you know how we were talking about on Thursday night, Jimmy, that how it's become popular for some politicians to associate themselves with the legalization, even though they don't have a clue what they're talking about, right? And if you ask them, what about caregivers? They say, well, we got legalization now. That to me is the missing of the boat.
Yep. I totally agree with you. And a lot of people would say it's not really legal if you can't grow it. So,
a person that was near and dear to us for a long time named Chad Carr used to say that a lot.
He sure did. And I think he was right.
Well, you can grow 12 plants now, Jimmy.
Yeah, for now.
You can be a caregiver.
For now. But I mean, you used to be, and I shouldn't say you used to. You can grow up to 72 plants now if you're a caregiver. And at the end of the day, they're going to try to take that away from us. And I think that certainly today, hash bash, when we protest this bullshit, that we should fight back and continue to make our voices heard. And our voices are that the MMMA belongs intact as it has been, and there's no reason to touch it. And this push to combine the laws and whatnot, I know that I don't believe the MMMA has been in scope for that effort yet, but I'm sure it's coming. And when it does, we really need to fight back, or we have a whole lot to stand to lose at the end of the day. And folks that need things like Rick Simpson oil, large amounts of it, cancer patients, they're not going to be able to afford their medication. They rely on caregivers, or they rely on the ability to grow themselves. They will not be able to participate in the retail market at the current cost and still have it be a viable solution for them.
You know, it's interesting that we have now the MRTMA, the regulate marijuana like alcohol. And I say, and we've talked about what does that look like? You know, like it's obviously not, you know, it's like the premise. We want to regulate it like alcohol, so it becomes like alcohol culturally, socially, legally, right? There's going to be rules and regulations, but where it's such a disparity of organicness, you know what I mean? And Jeff, the word that comes to mind that you've used in the past is control. You know, like the attempt of the government to control this economy and force the consumer to buy taxed government cannabis by way of one, you know, whether it's going to be legislative away, I mean, look, for 12 years, the caregivers were getting killed. They didn't go away. They still supplied the market, right? So now what, the legislature's going to say go away? Or this city or township didn't opt in, so the caregivers aren't stopping. You know, they're making laws banning caregivers. Caregivers aren't stopping. It's not a solution. It goes back to like the problems of the war on marijuana in general. It doesn't work. All of this is just, you know, it's beating your head against the wall more over the scab that you have, you know, because it's just more reasons to fuck with people over a fucking plant. And
It's
I mean,
horrible.
things don't logically flow from the declaration of the state of Michigan to legalize marijuana. You know what I mean? And I can't say that enough. I mean, it should be Schedule 1, and we shouldn't be amending any law that shouldn't even be a discussion at this point. It should be about implementing the principles there that adults aren't supposed to get arrested as a general principle. And any law that conflicts with it needs to be repealed by virtue of the enactment. And furthermore, it should be read broadly, if anything, with the specific intent of not criminalizing marijuana anymore. I don't know, someone didn't get the memo on that.
We're still going to have to fight for it. We're going to have to. And I mean, let's look at just recent history, Michael. I mean, you and Alyssa and the team at Komorn Law did such a great job with this Michael Toohey case. And immediately we see the courts just ignoring it. And it will continue. And we will continue to have to protest and fight to make sure that the law is enacted as written, as well as that the decisions of the higher courts are enforced. The idea that this Court of Appeals ruling isn't impacting their decisions on locking people up because they're coming and testing dirty for marijuana during probation is absolutely ridiculous.